How's everybody doing out there in internet land? I am your host, American Lumberjack, and you are watching TimberTalk, Navigating the Political Force. I am so glad to be here with you today, and we have a great show in store for you. So sit back, relax, and let's navigate. And as always, we are going to open with prayer and start this off right. Dear Heavenly Father, God, we thank you for today. We thank you for the many blessings that you bestowed upon us. Father God, we thank you for allowing us to know truth. And your word says that truth will set us free and deliver us from the bondage that the world would have us in and the enemy would have us in, Father. So God, I ask that you allow truth to be elevated and lies to be dispelled, Father. We thank you for this. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Amen. And just like that, we're going to hop right into it. And our first story today is Attorning Justice. Now, when an agency charged with, defending America keeps its own ranks filed, that's a red flag. And I know everybody always talks about that's a red flag. This is a red flag. Well, when you start policing yourself, that truly is a red flag, not just for bureaucracy, but for national security. The DOJ is hemorrhaging currently, right now, attorneys and investigators, while recruitment is plummeting on a day when law and order should be, rising. It's actually being broken. And this is at the behest of several factors, which we're going to cover today. Now, personally, I'm not a big fan of lawyers or attorneys for that matter, because they're out to suit the system. But since we're talking about the system needs them to function, that we as the people don't really need. But according to recent reporting, the DOJ has lost approximately 5,500 employees, including many prosecutors, since the start of the Trump administration. Now, this is, again, coming at the behest of many factors. So don't think it's only because of Trump this is happening. It's actually something that has to do with a lot of the changes taking place throughout our government's, existence. And Trump is just putting things in place to better things. And the people don't like that it's no longer business as usual, and nor should it be business as usual, because the citizens of the United States of America shouldn't be for business. But let's just get into it. So ultimately, sources say that the applicant pool has collapsed, and law school graduates are now rarely applying for a position at the DOJ, citing long hours, less job security, and the impression that the agency is being politicized. I find that to be very, very funny, because when you really truly think about it, it's all been politicized, and it has been ever since the Democrats. And yes, I got to call a spade, ever since the Democrats has made it a trend to use the Department of Justice to go after their political opponents. And they've done so with the Steele dossier. They've done so with the lawfare they've played in shutting down any and every EO Trump has tried to use, using currently to date federal activist judges to put in injunctions, like universal injunctions, to shut down any and everything that he does. That's lawfare. That is making it political. If you don't want it to be political, then you need to stop allowing yourself to be used as a political pawn by one party or the other. Now, the long hours part, it's a job. You some of us work 80, 90 hours a week, if not more. Some of us take work home. You're crying about long hours. You're supposed to have long hours. You're supposed to be protecting the sanctity of the United States of America, or the United States government, rather. But you can't do that. You don't want to do that. You want to just get paid for sitting on your butt, and that's no longer the case. So from a conservative standpoint, we rely on the DOJ to enforce laws regardless of politics, right? If it's, being hollowed out, that presents a problem. But if it's being hollowed out and it's being, because of it's being politicized, then it needs to be gutted. We need to get politics out of our judicial branch, so to speak. And that's because that's where these people reside, in the judicial branch. Why is it that we're indicting here and indicting there and nothing is coming of these indictments? We, the American people, are tired of not having things take place. You get us all hyped up and hopped up on coffee and Mountain Dew, ready to go because you said that this is going to happen. Yes, I'm talking to you, Pam Bondi. Yes, I'm talking to you, Pam Bondi. Yes, I'm talking to you, Kash Patel. You get us all hopped up saying that these things are going to happen, and then guess what? They don't happen. So now the American people are left wondering what's happening. Why isn't this person that you said you had dead to rights going anywhere? So yes, of course, I can see why people are not wanting to work for this particular agency, because it's a sham. On one hand, the Democrats uses it as a threatening party, and on the other hand, the Republicans uses it as a pony show. We got this. We're going to do this, and nothing ever comes of it. We still want those files. We being the people, not me, because I know there are no files, but I digress. It is what it is. If you say you're going to do something, you need to do it. And you shouldn't be using the DOJ for a witch hunt to take out your political opponent. So we're at a splitting point here. And the hard question is, if the DOJ's ranks are, depleted in their entirety, does that weaken our ability to prosecute crime, defend America's interest, and hold elites accountable? Because that's where it should really be. You shouldn't be playing these games of yo-yoing the American people up and down, getting hopes up, and then letting us down with the opportunity of having certain people, prosecuted or taken out or, put out to pasture. But your main job is to make sure other countries aren't doing us dirty. You're supposed to go over the legalese and deals that we make with other countries so that we don't really get taken. Your job is not to police the American people. Your job is to police these billionaires and trillionaire companies that take advantage of us, not to police we the people. But it seems like the FBI, which was originally created to, investigate the federal government, has done more investigation of the people. So at the end of the day, this is kind of one of those situations where we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. But if we can get a real correction on this path, we can actually fix this system of depravity. So, and if many applicants, this is the other, question I pose, if many other applicants avoid the DOJ because of their fear of it being politicized, who's left to uphold justice? And in my opinion, it's not really justice you're upholding now. So maybe this is not something that is in its entirety a bad thing, because it's exposing the disease that has festered for 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years within our justice system, within having lawyers and attorneys having more say-so and more power than they should. It just something to think about. So should the federal government make hiring into the DOJ more attractive? That's another question I can pose to you, because I don't think it's about glamour. And that in itself is where the politicization starts, is when you start glamorizing the system, making it look like it's more than what it is. And these people get there and they find out that it's not. And then you find out that you're being used to, wiretap your opponent and get a gotcha moment or a smoking gun from your opponent. When loyalty tests or ideological screenings replace merit, is the DOJ still justice, or does it become another arm of the party in power? And we have seen this constantly with both parties. I have to be fair. We have this whole belief that Pam Bondi is supposed to be this knight in shining armor that's supposed to get the justice done, and she's just as useless as the last. It really is. So we have to follow the tracks. And understaffed DOJ isn't just a Washington headline. It's a problem the American people will feel when cases drag on and crimes go unprosecuted and the federal enforcement becomes selective. That's been the biggest issue, is this the selective nature of our DOJ. I say fire Pam Bondi immediately, and if Kash Patel and even my beloved Dan Bongino don't get in line and shape up, they need to be shipped out. Ultimately, I have no picks when it comes to fixing our country and getting it back to we the people of the United States of America and United States and the Constitution. We're not there yet. And I don't think we will get there at the current pace we're heading, but maybe one day, maybe in a few generations, we'll see. What we also are seeing is that Syria has been pleading for assistance from Trump. Now, before I get into this, I came across some new information about this particular situation, I guess you could call it. I came across some new information. Apparently, allegedly, possibly, maybe, I don't have 100% foundation on this because, you know, AI is a thing. But apparently, the guy that came to see Trump to plead for assistance and help and changes was all about beheading people. But let's get into this particular segment and see what we can see. So Donald Trump hosted Ahmad al-Sharaa. I guess that's how you pronounce it. Sharr or Raa. The newly installed, pay attention to these words, the newly installed Syrian leader. And he did so at the White House. Now, while inviting Syria into a coalition against Islamic State sounds good, it might not be that good. To give you some history, prior to the takeover of the vile, disgusting, despicable Sharia law, the Middle East actually used to be quite peaceful. The women used to be able to wear bikinis and have their faces out, and they even mirrored very much so the 60s and 70s of the United States at the time that it was happening in the United States. But something changed. They allowed this disgusting, despicable Sharia law to take over. Hint, hint, New York City. Not going there just yet. But when you let this take over, things change. So this is an attempt by the White House to partner with other Middle Eastern countries to form a coalition against Islamic State, aka Sharia law. This isn't just diplomacy. It's reshaping alliances, rewriting America's position, and potentially empowering and lowering the cost of the enemy. We want the engagement of the enemies to die down. We want to be able to fly over and be American and not run the risk of being thrown into prison because we're American. So, is it smart? Is it realism? Or is it dangerous appeasement? That's the initial question I posed to you. So let's jump right into it and get to the nitty gritty. On November 10th, 2025, Trump welcomed Ahmad, the new installed leader, to the Oval Office, making al-Sharaa the first Syrian head of state to visit the U.S. since Syria's independence. That's a long time ago. So during the conversation, Syria agreed to join the U.S.-led coalition, which Trump actually started back. If you've been following me for a while, Trump actually started this when he held the summit in New York City, when multiple Middle Eastern countries came to discuss this. This is where this began, and it's being furthered with this meeting here. So during the conversation, Syria agreed to join the U.S.-led coalition against ISIS. making a dramatic pivot in Damascus, and with this new international posturing, which is good, but not just ISIS, sir. I'm giving you my opinion now. Not just ISIS. Why not Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthi? Why not all of them? Because all of them are a problem, right? Or is it just ISIS? Or is it ISIL, as Obama used to state all the time, where he would include the Leviathan, the Islamic State? But moving on, the U.S. actually simultaneously offered sanction relief, including a waiver under the Caesar Act, along with the prospect of investment and normalization if these new ties with Syria and other Middle Eastern countries go forward. They're offering incentives for them to do this, because really and truly, these Islamic states are out of hand. You can be free to worship as you see fit, but you're not free to take over countries and basically hold down the people of said countries with an iron thumb. And if they buck back, you murder them. Or if your enemies come in, you use those people as shields. I'm talking about you, Palestine. I'm talking about you. So, from my perspective, the plus side is deploying this strategic realism and turning it into a new partnership. And you're turning a former adversary into an ally against a common foe. Because unbeknownst to a lot of people, ISIS has plagued the Middle East. Syria has been at the butt end of a lot of those attacks. Now, while Syria is not innocent by any means, stretch of imagination, from actually doing, terroristic things, they are not the mainstay threat over there. It is more so Hamas and ISIS at this current time. The risks are loud, very, very loud. A leader with a militant past, because Mr. al-Shara, it used to be a militant leader, it gets praise, and the U.S. backing, sanctions get rolled back, and U.S. leverage may weaken if Damascus doesn't follow through on the reform. I said this a few weeks back when they did the initial summit in New York City with multiple other Middle Eastern countries, that this is a very, 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 very fine line that needs to be walked. That Trump needs to be very, very, very careful how he speaks, what he says, how he engages, everything, because these people are quite possibly the most volatile entities on the planet. Anything can set them off. They're more volatile than blacks in the United States. Anything can set them off. If the wind blows wrong and an arm hair flattens the wrong way, they could be set off. So you have to be very careful. But if we can get them to go along with this, it could be a beautiful reshaping of the Middle East and allowing America to back out of the situation and allow the Middle East to handle the Middle East. Ultimately, that's the goal. We don't want to be in everybody's Kool-Aid. Well, we kind of sort of do for other purposes, but we don't need to be funding everybody's Kool-Aid, so to speak. So it would be really, really nice to actually come back out of it. And if this all blows up in everybody's face, as I always say, we can turn it into a sea of glass, salt flat them, end them, because this disease that is Islam is taking over all of Europe. France has kicked them out. They've come back. Germany has kicked them out. They've come back. And then the rest of the world, mainly the Western part of the world, oh, you just don't care about people. No, we care about our own people over your people. And while I'm on this particular topic, because I don't have much more to say about Islam and Muslims, America, come here. We have been invaded. I probably won't get to speak on many other topics about this unless this comes up in future news. But America, we have been invaded. And if you haven't been paying attention, these Muslims, and I'm not being xenophobic or phobic or anything like that. I'm watching with my eyes. I'm listening with my ears. I am hearing things and seeing things that is no longer America. You have these individuals that have been placed here by Barack Hussein Obama, Barry, as some call him, and over time, nothing happened. Over time, they seek places of office. Over time, they get these places of office. And now all of a sudden, we have this problem. I am of the belief that no one that is dual citizen or non-citizen or even green card, whatever, should ever be able to access a position up at any level of government in the United States. If you're not born and raised here, natural born citizen, then you shouldn't have the option or ability to get into office because they are altering how things are going. Look at Minnesota. And this is the same thing that has happened overseas. Over 300 mayoral positions in the UK have been taken. They've had Sharia law added into their curriculum at schools. You're hearing this prayer crap 5 days a week. That is happening here in the United States. Minnesota has been taken over. Michigan, Dearborn, Michigan, have you been seeing what's been happening in Dearborn, Michigan? And most of these people came on over here on refugee status. Just because you're a refugee doesn't mean we get to keep you or have to keep you. Most of the rest of them came over on TPS status, temporary protective status. Your country's safe now. Go back. So I'm really hoping very much that this particular situation unfolds beautifully in the manner that we need it to, so we can get these people out of here, because in no way, shape, or form are they good for the countries that they're in, as long as the Islamic State or Sharia law remains at the top in leadership. Because I don't like hearing death to America chanted, period. But I don't like it even more when they're doing it right here in America. Or do we have to go look up the Muslims chanting death to America in Dearborn, Michigan? Or do we have to looking at Michigan University when it was taken over, and the green and the National Guard had to go in and take control, and they were chanting death to America? Are we serious? America is a Christian nation, whether you like it or not a Islamic Sharia law nation. And as a Christian nation, I believe that Christianity should be in government. I didn't say be the government. I didn't say make religion that the mass religion of the country. It should be in government, because you can't separate someone's belief systems and ideals from who they are. If you have a belief system, that's who you are at your core. And wherever you go, that goes with you. Just like, what's that bald-headed woman that married her brother in office? I can't remember her name right now. Her Islamic backing and culture and belief system have not changed. Same thing with Rashida Tlaib. She was asked to denounce the actions that these people were taking, and she could not do it. Strange. Very, very strange. Weird, I would say. So, in Fort Worth, Texas, Mercy Culture Church has launched a full-scale training course for Christians who want to seek public office. I think this is beautiful. If USAID can get AOC in office, I think we should have Christians pushing to get Christians in office. It's not just about voting. It's about running, governing, and injecting faith into every arena of power. Because without faith, no man will see God. So, in 2021, Mercy Culture Church launched this nonprofit for liberty and justice, which houses Campaign University, an online program training Christian conservative candidates how to get in office and, do the right thing. Now, I can hear the liberals' heads going pop, 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 pop. The Democrats' heads going pop, 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 pop. Separation of church and state. Can you do me a favor? Show me where that's written in the Constitution of the United States of America. Can you do that for me? I'll wait. I have time. Oh, you can't? Because it's not there. That was a letter written to Marbury Madison Church by Benjamin Franklin. Because he was of the belief at the time, that there should be a separation of church and state. Now, he didn't mean, let me correct you guys, because most people can't read, and if they can read the words on the screen, they can't comprehend. He did not mean church shouldn't be in the state. The state shouldn't be in the church, because that's exactly what happened, and one of the main reasons why they fled. Because the state governing body infiltrated the church and used it as a propaganda machine and a chastising machine and a threat and coercion and duress machine to collect taxes through, giving to the church and to control the people, to control the masses. Then the church at some point in time turned it around and took control of the state. We call them the Catholic Church, but we won't go there. So legislator pastor Nate Schwarzlein, which is a Republican Texas representative, teaches modules within the course which builds itself as helping Spirit-led candidates. And you can't go wrong being led by the Holy Spirit. If God is for you, who can be against you? And if you're making plans based off of the Holy Spirit, the creator of all things, you don't make bad plans. I recall the scripture says, "For my people who are called by my name would repent, turn from their evil and wicked ways, and cry out to me, then I will come and heal their land." This is a good start onto healing our land. While you might not like it, we're not forcing our beliefs on you. We're forcing it on the government. Since they have taken God out of our country, abortions have increased. It's become a thing. I recall in the Bible, God destroying a nation because of this behavior. Homosexuality, yes, I'm calling it what it is, a spade, has increased. It has been glamorized to mutilate your body. Since we've taken God out of our country and our schools, gun violence in schools and around our nation has increased. Lives being lost has increased. You can't be like King Solomon and allow everybody's belief system to dictate how things go, because that's when you start having what you have here in America now. Depravity. Gross depravity. So students pay around $100 for a 5-hour course, and they're told formal government experience isn't required. What matters is the call of God. Many are called, few are chosen. The choice is yours, not God's. He chooses anybody that answers the call. Now, a key message, there is no separation, like I said before, between church and state, and the campaign training center actually frames this around what it is to be in government. Notice this, and I'll tell you like this. If someone that is pro LGBT, pro abortion gets in office, that's what they push. Someone that is pro Islam, Rashida Tlaib, and the other one that married her brother, that's what they push. If someone is anti-gun, that's what they push. They push their beliefs. Being a child of God is a belief. So why does everyone else get to push what they want, but not Christians? Faith builds kingdoms. Or you could just have the crap that we have now and watch a kingdom fall. Sodom and Gomorrah was once a great set of cities. Then they tried to, assault angels, and God destroyed them. I'm here for it. I have no negative for this because I am a Christian. I do believe that we should push what it is to be a Christian into politics. I'm not saying that these politicians get in there with their belief systems and try to force what we believe on everybody else, but I do believe that policy should be led by God. Otherwise, you're led by whom? If it's not of God, it's of the world. If it's not of God, it's of self. If it's not of God, it's of the enemy. And if it's of the world, it's at enmity with God. It's a legitimate, it ultimately, is it legitimate for ministry to act as a campaign school for candidates? Yes, I'm going to answer that for myself. The other question is if voters reflect the training of one's church doctrine, is that diversity of representation or monolithic mobilization? I would say right now, what you're seeing in Texas, Dearborn, Michigan, Minnesota, and now good old New York is monolithic mobilization. Or do you not recall the gentleman saying that he wants to, you know what? Better yet, let's pull this up. I actually have that video, and I'm going to take the time to take a brief beat here, and we're going to play this video. Let me throw it over here because it's not this is not planned by any stretch of the imagination, but I would like you guys to see firsthand what I know to be true because it happened, and you can't deny it if you see it, right? And this is not AI. This was what took place right after Zoran Mamdani, who is a Democrat socialist. There's no such thing as that in Islam. He is a Islamist. This is what happened when he won. Let's see here. Where did that go? This is right shortly after he won. Wait a minute. That's the Jews burning flags. That's another thing I would like to talk about. No, that's the wrong video. Give me one more second. Let me see if I can find it here. That was the Jews burning flags. Do I not have that video on this phone? I'm pretty sure I have that video on this phone. Let's see. Because I'm very interested in, because I know a lot of people, don't get around to watching stuff. Here it is. And I'm gonna show this for you guys right here. And we will get your opinion on it, because honestly, I don't like this, and neither should you. Neither should anybody. Nobody should like this. Let's go ahead and drop this right here for you guys. Check this out. I'm going to have to put the sound on for you.
We're done hiding. We're done. We're done being tortured and hurt and judged. This is the correct religion. This is the religion that all of humanity needs to be a part of, Islam. And we will not stop until it enters every home. So I want you to repeat after me. I want to hear.
All right, let's play this from the beginning. Check this out.
We're done hiding. We're done. We're done being tortured and hurt and judged. This is the correct religion. This is the religion that all of humanity needs to be a part of, Islam. And we will not stop until it enters every home. So I want you to repeat after me. I want to hear it in every single district. It should tremble. Brooklyn should hear it. The Bronx should hear it. Queens should hear it. Say it as if the Ummah depends on this, my brothers and sisters. La ilaha illallah. Muhammadur Rasulullah. There is no God worthy of worship except Allah, the God of Jesus, the God of Moses, the God of Abraham, and the God of the last and final Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We're done hiding.
Okay, that's enough of that. You're worried about a Christian being in office? See, the major difference, and there's a major difference between Christians and those of Islam, is that these particular people are extremely, extremely devout. Catholicism is not Christianity, but they're more devout than your Catholics. They don't believe in funny little rituals without action behind them. So when he says at the beginning of said video that he is going to see it in every home, they will not stop until it's in every single home, they mean it. They mean it. They're going to push it. But I recall, we don't want you to force your Christianity on us. Because you want to live a life of depravity, sickness. That's how you want to live. No accountability, no responsibility. That's how you want to live. Well, these people take people that don't follow the rules and they end them. So that is monolithic mobilization. Or did you not see the 2 million Muslims in Texas, which takes place every single March? Every single March. They have a little convention every single March. So that's some food for thought for you guys. I would chew on that for a little bit. Just let that sit in the gullet. And while you're chewing on that, let's check this out. So the G20, everybody knows about the G20 summit. When the world's biggest economies gather in Johannesburg and the United States says, we're out, you've got to ask what's going on. So the U.S. is boycotting the G20 summit in South Africa, and it's not just about diplomacy. It's a message. You know, Trump is always about those really, really hard-hitting messages. It's a message of values, land rights, and whatever global summits still serve America's interest. So let's get into this one a little bit and see what Trump was talking about. President Trump announced that he is not going to allow the U.S. to attend the G20 summit in Johannesburg later this month, citing that human rights and human rights abuses in South Africa are the main reason why he's against what's taking place later on this month, aka the G20 summit. So he says that white Afrikaners, I think that's how white Afrikaners farming community is being tormented by South African leadership. Trump called the hosting of the summit in South Africa a total disgrace and has pointed specifically to the alleged land seizures and violence targeting the Afrikaners, which Afrikaners are white Africans, I guess. Why they have a different name, I guess they're a little form of racism like we have in America calling black people African Americans when most of them have never been to Africa nor have lineage from Africa, but I digress. Just because you have dark skin doesn't mean you're from Africa. But he's withdrawing because of that. So the South African president, Cyril Ramaphosa, dismissed the allegations, calling the U.S. Decision their loss and asserting that the allegations of genocide against Afrikaners are baseless. Opinion. You have Muslims there. I know we were just on, Islam a little earlier. You have Muslims there. Most of Africa, continent of Africa, is plagued with Islam. And they're slaughtering Christians left and right in Nigeria, in Darfur, in Congo, even in South Africa, which I've looked up. They're being slaughtered there as well. So please don't tell me that these are baseless allegations, Mr. Cyril, because we have eyes. We have the internet. And a lot of this stuff was popping up before AI. Videos were a thing. So please don't tell me this is not true. The people that are having their heads cut off and being shot have 5 fingers and toes, not 12 and 20 as AI would do or used to do. And this was months and years and decades ago that this has been going on. This has been going on for a long time. And so I'm actually with Trump on this wholeheartedly. If you have nations that are actively going after their own people and allowing religious zealots and crazed lunatics come in and slaughter people for any reason, whether it be for their faith or for their land or their skin color, we shouldn't attend. And Mr. Cyril says that it's our loss. No, it's yours. We are the largest consumer in the world. You need us more than we need you. Or did you not get that? You can't move product if the customer's not buying. So here's where the cut gets sharp. If the U.S. leaves a global summit because of principle, that's good. But if the principle is built on, contested claims, which they do, Cyril does, without a broad international agreement or evidence, is the principle solid? That's the questions that the left pose. I love to give both aspects on the show, so you know that I'm not biased. A lot of y'all are blind. We like to turn a blind eye to things that we don't like, or just downright say it doesn't exist. That's where we are in the United States of America. We believe that if we don't look at it, out of sight, out of mind kind of mentality, but it's true. What's happening in Palestine is not a genocide. What's happening in multiple countries in Africa, the continent of Africa, is a genocide. And what's happening in South Africa is not a good thing. It's not. And I think Trump is one of the greatest, chess players when it comes to business. And he makes these moves, and most people talk big at first, and then they fold. They know when to hold them, and they know when to fold them. But when Trump talks big, they fold. So I agree. That the U.S. should boycott this and say we don't stand for this type of behavior. We've done it with China multiple times, and China has folded every single time. They talk big, and they folded every single time. And don't get me wrong. I'm against what the Chinese government was doing to the Uyghurs, which are Islamic individuals, Muslim people, and they were just slaughtering them. Now, while I don't agree with just slaughtering these people because of their crazy belief system, I do believe that they shouldn't be allowed in certain locations, but I'm not going to get back on that particular topic. Otherwise, we'll be here all day. So the U.S. boycott isn't just a one-off headline. It might actually mark the changing posture for America in the global diplomacy. I don't think we should be a global citizen. I think we should be America and have partnerships. I don't think we need to be a part of every club because every club doesn't want us to be a part of it. And normally when America joins clubs, we don't benefit. It is what it is. You can feel how you feel, say what you say, but this is my show. I'm going to say what I want to say, but I'm going to speak in truth. I'm not going to speak out of ignorance. I'm going to give you the facts and hit you with them as hard as I can in hopes that you too will see the light. Kind of like how Chuck Schumer has seen the light. This next segment is called Poor Chucky. So, when a party, aka the Democrats, gets angry, they get angry. And when the other party wins big at the polls, then the Democrats get angry. That's where we're at right now. So who's really running the country? Who's really running the show? Now, the centrist, the people in the middle, and the left within the Chuck Schumer-led Senate, because he's the Senate majority or minority leader, are pointing fingers and accusing him of failing his caucus in the last months of the shutdown. Now, I'm not really one to kind of sort of talk about the back end of things and who's at fault, who's to blame when it's a singular person, but this is pretty funny, and it shows a new light of how the Democrats eat their own. Chuck Schumer did the right thing. He did the right thing. You have Democrats up here admitting that they knew the Republicans weren't going to back down and that they didn't care if the government stayed shut down because they got paid. They got their money up front. And you have other Democrats espousing that they don't even care if the military goes hungry. It's not going to be enough to end the shutdown. Chuck Schumer did the right thing. And this is why his party's turned against him. Same thing with Fetterman, who conveniently had an accident and now needs to be off scenes. But as you know, Fetterman voted. He was one of the Democrats that came across the aisle the first time around to vote for the clean CR. And now all of a sudden he's had a unfortunate accident. It's just the timing's kind of odd. I'm not going to get into a conspiracy theory about that, but the timing's kind of odd. But according to multiple reports, progressive Democrats are blaming Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer after a 41-day government shutdown, historical 41-day government shutdown strategy collapsed. Why is it a strategy to keep the government shut down so you can get what you want? $1.5 billion or $1.59 billion is not enough money to keep the government shut down over, especially when it only lasts 4 weeks for your pet project. So they have this government shutdown strategy, and it collapses without securing their wants and their concessions. But why? Why? You weren't the ones suffering. And if you look at the ACA has been abysmal. So they promised that it was going to be affordable, but not everybody qualified. And then when the subsidy money, or when the money ran out, the subsidies would be handled by the taxes of the people. The same people that don't qualify. And if you don't, have insurance already, according to Barack Obama, you're going to get penalized. So not only are you being taxed out the wazoo for this, you're being penalized for not having insurance, which that penalized money goes to the ACA. So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Well, although Chuck Schumer didn't vote with the 8 Democrats who broke ranks, he is widely seen as the person responsible for holding the line. He should have got those other Democrats and beat them in line. Bravo to the 8 Democrats that actually care about the people enough to get this clown show in shape. And don't get too happy just yet, because this is going to happen again. This is only a temporary funding. It's going to happen again. So progressive lawmakers and organizers are openly talking about replacing Schumer as the minority leader, arguing that his leadership has become a liability. Bravo, Chuck Schumer. Bravo, Mr. Pencil Neck, as Trump calls you. Bravo. Thank you for not standing in the way of opening our government back up. Now our military men and women can get paid without having to go into private funding and emergency funding and donors coming in to do the job. Because that's what Trump had to do to pay both times. 2 paychecks. Now these people are still waiting for their paychecks in the military while the congressmen and women, I have my money. I'm going to take my private jet. You have Americans suffering while you're living your best life. That's gross. What's not gross is that China and the United States, after that meeting America had with China, and I have another China story to go along with this one as well. But friendly ports are opening. So, when shipping lanes become battlegrounds, everybody suffers on both sides. China suffers and America suffers. And I'm not talking about, the countries. I mean, the people that live within the countries, they suffer. The supply chains break and jobs are lost and national power fights and struggles begin. And all of this flies beneath the radars because, you have this problem. Well, China announced a 1-year suspension of ports, the port fees that people pay, just specifically for the United States. So if you're a U.S. linked ship, meaning that you're doing business with the United States or for the United States or are the United States, you're going to get a waive of the port fees. So on paper, it looks like a good deal. But in reality, it raises a central question. Who's getting the leverage here? The U.S. or Beijing? Let's get into it. So on November 10th, 2025, China's Ministry of Transportation announced that a 1-year suspension of port fees will be levied on vessels linked to the United States. That these ships and ships that are linked to the United States will, get a good old wave. Come on through. No, it's kind of like when you drive through toll booths. Well, if you got this waiver, you don't get tolled. This move comes as a part of the broader deal with the U.S., where Washington also agreed to pause its own port fees on Chinese-linked ships and engage in negotiations on trade and the complaints that go along with trade under the Section 301 of the deal. So my overall perspective on this is no different than Trump having the summit in New York, bringing all these other Middle Eastern countries in. Is it's potentially volatile. If you make a mistake, they back out. If they make a mistake, we back out. It could hurt us. It could hurt them. It could help them. It could help us. There's a lot that is unknown because it's uncharted territory so far. So the U.S. gets China to pull back fees that hurt the U.S. vessels, and the Americans get some breathing room with the whole, logistics, aka INCO terms, international commercial terms with shipping. They get breathing room in a global shipping world. But the murkier questions that I have is, are we trading fees for ambition and giving China a quieter front while they keep building their dominance? We have to remember, for the first 8 weeks of this podcast, 9 weeks of this podcast, all we talked about is how China was spying here, China was spying there, China's doing this, China's doing that against the United States. Could this be helping them? When China suspends these fees, who benefits more, the U.S. or China? China is a global logistic shipping machine. If U.S. drops retaliatory fees in return for talks, is that strength or is it de-escalation of leverage at the wrong moment? Something you guys have to think about. Oftentimes we talk about China doing this, China doing that, shipping here, shipping that, tariff here, tariff there. But ultimately, America has to be on guard, or espionage could slip in. We've already had these people in our military. We already had military men and women selling secrets. We have to be careful. We have to be careful because ultimately China is not going to do anything that doesn't benefit them. So I am a little wary on this, but for right now, it does seem to be good on paper. I'll have to revisit this later on to tell you if it's good in practice. Otherwise, oh boy. But this next story, the Great Metal Wall, or Great Wall of Metal, whichever way you want to put it. This, however, is a good thing. This is a good thing. So the flow of metals might sound boring, and a lot of people are like, oh, we don't care about this stuff. You need to care about it because most of your cars and the things that you use that are made out of metal come from these areas. So you need to know about this. It sounds boring, but when those metals fuel America's ships, missiles, and solar panels, yeah, and the jets, yeah, it's anything but that. So China just surprised the world by suspending bans on exports of key minerals to the U.S. And if you've been following the show for any amount of time, you know that there's been a big back and forth battle with America fighting for rare earth minerals and fighting China, and China freezing this and China freezing that. And China really has a stranglehold on these particular areas. This is why we were trying to do deals with Ukraine for $500 billion on their resources. And then Russia steps in and says, if Ukraine won't facilitate it, we'll facilitate it and we'll stop the war. It never went through. But this is big. This is big. And this is why it's a surprise, because China never really does this. But potentially you could say because of the talks Trump had with Xi Jinping, this is why we are where we are. But is that a win for America or a strategic pivot by Beijing to reset the field on their terms? I got to keep it a buck. It seems like China's making a lot of concessions to stroke the ego of the big Don. However, he did write The Art of a Deal and could be playing them the whole way through. But we can't just let down our guard and think we're winning because they're giving. Because you never give without getting, especially when you're China. On November 9th, 2025, China's Ministry of Commerce announced that it would suspend its export ban on dual-use materials. That is germanium, antium, and gallium. 3 very, very key rare earth minerals, or metals, if you will, that benefit America greatly. And we've been pecking and scratching and digging, trying to get this from other nations to get independence from China. But China just, makes this big suspension, and it's surprising, it's shocking. But they're suspending it from now indefinitely, or effectively now, all the way until November 27th, 2026. These materials are crucial and critical for semiconductors, fiber optics, military uses, and cutting-edge manufacturing. So the suspensions follows a broader trade truce between the U.S., President Donald Trump, and Xi Jinping, as I mentioned earlier. I am wary because China, as it stands, are not friends. Now, if we can make this a friendship, I'm here for it. But like I said with the other story, will keep you posted. Looks good on paper, sounds good on paper, but we need to see it in action. What we're seeing is a moment of tactical give and take around minerals and shipping and port fees and all that stuff. But what's really going to go down? Now, us getting this stuff is vital for war. So that's where we benefit greatly. But they could also benefit greatly in commerce and control. It's an economic strategy for both of us, more militarily for us, but more finances for them. Something to think about, something to look in. Now, this next story, and I'm not going to keep you much longer. I only have 2 more stories after this, but this next story, I'm going to sum this story up real quick, fast, in a hurry, because it doesn't take much. I'm not going to hold you too long on this particular story, but it is a fun one. Basically, immigration is a thing. We have the legal immigration. We have the legal tourists from other nations, all this other stuff. In short, Trump says if you're fat, you can't immigrate here. Not just that. If you have chronic illness, you can't immigrate here. If you have diabetes, you can't immigrate here. If you are, again, fat, you can't immigrate here. If you have major health issues, you can't immigrate here. Why? Sounds crazy, right? I know. It sounds crazy. essentially Trump saying you're not going to use the American taxpayers to get your diseases in check, your health in check. And a lot of people do use America for that very reason, because we are, number one in R&D, research and development, when it comes to the medical field, both for medical technology and for medical advancements. We are the number one provider in the world for both of those. So therefore, we're going to have better health care. I know a lot of these leftists, they don't have socialized health care. Well, socialized health care struggles because everybody can get help. They just go for any old thing. This is why it won't work here in America. We're too big, and our military allows for them, other countries, socialized medicine countries, to do what they do because they don't have to put money into their military, because big bad America is going to come help out if something goes wrong. But ultimately, I think this is one of the coolest things because it says multiple things. It says, hey, America, get healthy. Hey, people outside of America, come healthy. We can no longer allow ourselves to just turn a blind eye to this fact that America is struggling with its health. Diabetes has been on the rise for decades. Obesity has been on the rise for decades. Heart disease has been on the rise for decades. Cancer has been on the rise for decades. These things are rising because we're treated like lab rats. They pump our food full of filth. They pump our water full of filth. Did you know that if your toilet paper has been bleached with chlorine, by the way, you should check your ingredients of your toilet paper. There's ingredients in toilet paper? Yeah. Then it's unhealthy for you, and it can cause a myriad of issues. We have all of this stuff in our food, in our pesticides, all this stuff that harm us. For example, Parkinson's. There's this stuff that I can't remember, the name escapes me as soon as I mention Parkinson's, that they used to put in everything. I think it's glycophiles, somewhere around there. And then they changed the name to another name, and then that got banned. And it's all at the behest of the Trump administration under the leadership of RFK and at the health secretary. These things keep banned, and then they move to another name. And hopefully next week, if I remember, I will bring you those names of those. But they cause Parkinson's. If you lived close to prior to Trump getting in office, if you lived close to a golf course, you had a 150% chance of contracting Parkinson's because of the stuff they sprayed on the golf courses. We perpetuate this sicknesses and these illnesses because we're treated like lab rats and a perpetual wheel of money from Big Pharma. Well, Trump says, no, you can't come in here and suck off the American people and their dime to get healthy or to treat your diseases anymore. If you're going to come here, you got to come here healthy. I'm here for it. 100% here for it. And America is a great country with a lot of problems. And if you bring your problems to our country, we can't fix ours. This is why I'm very much America first. And always will be. Always have been. But I'm here for this. I'm very much here for this. Get healthy or don't come. Our next story is, and this is a very important story, where's the beef? Now, I am a carnivore in every way, stretch, and form. I'm a carnivore. I'm on the carnivore diet. I eat steak on a regular basis, but it's gotten pretty pricey. The prices have gone up. And in this particular segment here, we're going to explore it. So when your dinner plate overall becomes evidence in a high-stake Washington fight, you know the rot runs deeper than just supply and demand. President Trump has accused foreign-owned meat packers of collusion, called on the Justice Department, and he's trying to have the Justice Department figure out what's going on. He's just like, what's going on? We need to investigate. And now the industry is under federal scrutiny, as it should be. Every industry that partners and works with and gets a EIN should be scrutinized by the federal government, and they should worry less about the American people and more about these corporations. But let's get into what's going on. Trump publicly directed the DOJ to open a probe into major meat packing firms, accusing them of price fixing and collusion in the beef market. So the investigation overall will involve firms like Tyson Foods. We know about Tyson's. Tyson Foods has been in quite a few, murky cases and investigations. Cargill, JBS, USA, and National Beef Packing Company, which all process roughly 50 to 85% of grain-fed cattle in the United States. So beef prices have surged because, at the beginning of 2025, it was all about the eggs. I eat a lot of eggs too. I love eggs. And that price has come way down. And now the new argument from the left is beef prices are skyrocketed. Well, the prices have surged year over year with hikes above 13% in some cuts. So I'm a man of many cuts. I like my tomahawk. I like my New York strip. I like my, pretty much all cuts except for filet mignon. I think that's gross. But I do enjoy a good New York strip and a good T-bone. Those are quite literally my favorite. I love those. So while ranchers face herd reductions and drought, Trump claims these packers are blaming the ranchers while foreign-owned entities artificially inflate prices. We know that China, in particular, is really, really good at lying about their value of their currency. They devalue their currency so they can play games with other nations around the world. Well, this is kind of sort of similar what's going on here. We have one group that is inflating prices and then blaming the other group for why their prices need to go up. So from a lumberjack perspective, this is kind of an antitrust muscle, and America First economic posture is that we've been demanding protecting domestic productions and producers while imposing accountability on the big industry and putting food security back into national conversation. Because you have these people, food is a right. First and foremost, food is not a right, but everyone should eat. Doesn't make it a right. But they can't eat if the prices are too high. You have these big companies coming around saying, we need to do this and we need to do that because the ranchers are struggling themselves. We have low turnout. Basically, the cows aren't having enough babies. And we have a large exporting of our produce within our cows. We push out a lot of cows. And the only way to really fix that is to either have the cows have more cows or slow down our exportation, which then causes a whole other issue. But that's not the main issue. The issue is that these ranchers are being taken advantage of and told that they are the ones that are the problem. So it's this structure where there's consolidation, foreign ownership, and unchecked power that is the real problem. But investigation costs time, and markets move faster than what they can investigate. If the DOJ drags their feet, which they do because Pam Bondi sucks, not a fan of Miss Blondie, if they drag their feet, Americans might pay the price. Now, while most local areas are higher than the big box stores because they can do some magic, my local farmers are providing to a local grocery store that is not a widespread grocery store, and the prices are fair. But if I go to the big box stores like Walmart or other places like Harris Teeter and such, those prices are substantially higher. I can purchase at the place I shop at here 10 pounds for about $75. Whereas if I were to do the same at the big box stores, I'd be looking anywhere from $110 to $115 for that same 10 pounds. So should the federal government make or take more aggressive action when major industries with few players dominate the market? That is a question I really want to have asked. for you guys. Like, and I would love to have an answer as well. Should the government take a harder stance? I think a lot of these corporations go unchecked because they have lobbyists funneling money to certain policymakers and lawmakers, most of the people in Congress, and that causes a problem. And being that the executive branch in the United States government is the enforcement of law, they have the right and the ability to go in and put their foot down or knee down on the necks of these big players. I'm here for that because I'm tired of being taken advantage of. To give you a roll around, think of it this way. Prices went up when Trump said he was going to do tariffs, right? And the companies, the prices have gone up because Trump and the tariffs. Trump bad, tariffs bad. Well, over 80% of those said tariffs hadn't even gone into effect yet. So why did your prices go up? Are you preemptively, trying to set out to make sure you don't have shortfall, that your year to date is higher or better, or at least breaking even? The problem furthers when you look at the tariffs that were being implemented. Most of these industries that increased their prices and blamed Trump of the price hike due to tariffs weren't even affected by said tariffs. So they hiked those prices up for no reason. And we, the consumer, paid the price. Think of it in those terms when you think of this. You have these American companies and foreign companies blaming ranchers, saying that the ranchers are the problem, and that's why their prices have to go up. But really, that's not the case at all. It's not the case at all. So, yes, I think Pam Bondi needs to take her focus away from all the vacuous BS, Epstein files, and focus more on fixing this. So we, the people of America, can eat steak at a lower cost. I know I would love that. Our last story of the day, we finally made it. We're here now. Is funding denied? And boy, do I love this funding being denied. So what happens when a federal taxpayer becomes collateral in a city's political experiment? A Republican, yes, a Republican, has proposed in the House using that exact scenario, targeting Zohran Mamdani's incoming mayoralship to New York City by threatening to strip all federal funding if he and his socialist agenda takes hold. Because, he wants to have government-owned grocery stores because that works out so well when you have government price control so well. And he wants to have subsidized and cheap and free housing and all this other stuff. Yeah. Well, there's a Republican, Buddy Carter from Georgia, who introduced the Mamdani Act. I'm here for it. And the Mamdani Act is an acronym for Moving American Money Distant from Anti-National Interest Act. God knows they can make something up there. That sounds terrible, but I'm here for it overall, which would rescind all unobligated federal funds to New York City, more specifically, and block any future federal funding while Mamdani serves as mayor, which Trump actually hinted at that earlier, which I said that Trump, that's an election interference. That the same thing you blame the Democrats for doing, you're kind of sort of actually doing that right now by saying that if you put Mamdani in office, I'm going to stop funding to New York. That's election interference. So Carter argues that New York City should not receive federal dollars when radical socialist policies threaten the fiscal health of the country's financial capital. So inside the House GOP, the move has sparked backlash by Representative Nicole Malakis, whatever. She's got a horrible last name, but her name's Nicole. She's a representative, Republican representative from New York, and she's the only Republican representing New York in one of the boroughs. called the bill ludicrous and criticized it for punishing taxpayers in her district who did not vote for Mom Donnie. Fair, very, very fair, very, very fair. But you recall how the Democrats and the left always promote this absurd, and I'll use Miss Nicole's word, ludicrous belief that blue cities and blue states pay for red states and red cities. That's not true. And that's the premise of Mr. Carter here bill that he wants to put forth. And I'm here for it. You've quite legitimately voted in, first and foremost, this Democratic socialist who wants to give free all the things, but then as soon as he gets in office, asks for money. But he's also a Muslim who is a devout in the Islamic faith, who is pro-Sharia law, who came out, with a smile on his face saying, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Did you not see the video I just showed where all of these Muslims are gathered in Times Square? It was over 200,000 of them chanting in their native language about what they want to do and how they're going to do it, and saying that their Islam is going to be in every household. By the way, Jesus is king. Always will be. Not Allah, a doctrine of demons, but I digress. I won't get into that. But here's the tough cuts. If Congress can simply pull federal money from a city, this is the left's proposal, because it's mayor's ideologies, what does that mean for federalism, local autonomy, and the rule of law? First off, my opinion is that we shouldn't have anyone that's not from America, not a citizen by birth in the United States, or someone with dual citizenship. If you come in and you do the right things and become a true citizen of the United States, through the process, then yeah, you should be able to run for office. Shouldn't be able to be president. That is fact. Should never be able to be president, which you can't. But you shouldn't be able to really hold office at all, because again, like we were stating earlier about the whole Christian government segment, when you have this push for your beliefs and you get in office in a place of power where you can do that, that becomes a problem. It becomes a major problem. So I think that this bill should go through to show that we are America, a constitutional republic, from the top to the bottom, a constitutional republic. And we have no room for socialism. We have no room for communism. We have no room for Sharia law, because really and truly Sharia is a form of government and a form of law. And the Constitution states that the only law is the supreme law. No other law can come in here and change things. So our verse for the day as we close comes from Psalms 37:23. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Thank you for joining me as always, and make sure you're not one of the ones who missed the forest for the trees. Have a good day.